Now then, you beautiful people, thank you for joining us once again. We've got a towel rad to swap here. We've got a new one to go straight back in, slightly bigger. And then we've also got a basin tap to swap and a kitchen tap to swap downstairs. How much would you guys charge for this supplied and fitted? Stick around to find out how much I charged. So starting out with the towel rail, we're not going to drain down the full system, we're just going to turn the valves off and then just drop the pressure out of the radiator. Crack our nuts into our Deblow tub, and then we can use our plumb thumbs to just stop the water from leaking out, and that way we can carry the radiator downstairs with it and we're not going to spill any black sludgy water on the customer's nice cream carpet. Definitely worth having them plumb thumbs. You can get them from Amazon. I have people asking me all the time where you can get them from. Yeah, Amazon. There will be a link in my in the description to my Amazon account, and you can see it on there. So with the radiator out of place, we're going to make the new towel valves up, towel radiator valves up. Sorry, I'm mumbling here. Using Loctite 55 and a bit of paste. I'm not using liquid PTFE on here because I had time to let it dry and go off, but when I'm not doing a full drain down on multiple radiators, I prefer to use Loctite 55. That way, I know it's going to seal first time. So we'll get them screwed in. I'm going to use my new, if you've not seen it before, the Wera radiator key. It is, I'll show you here if it zooms in enough. Wera 426, I can't remember what it's called. Anyhow, it's a 1/2 inch socket, ratchet socket, so it goes onto there. My socket set that I've got is not Wera, it's just the adapter at the end. So if you want a link to that, let me know. I will happily send you a link over it. I got mine from plumberstools.com. Bit of a space saver, I'm not having to carry a socket set and also a radiator ratchet as well. So once that's all made up, we need to put our brackets onto our radiator. But I'm hoping I can reuse the bottom holes. I just need to measure it all out and make sure them bottom holes line up with the bottom brackets. And then I can put a bit of black silicone in the top holes just to cover them up. So not redoing the tiling at all here. So luckily, the bottom brackets did line up. What I did is put the radiator valve on, measured from the centre of that bracket to the centre of the pipe, which lines up perfectly with what we've got in the existing, which is a bonus. So we've just got the top ones to do. So how I measure that is just measure from the centre of that bottom bracket, centre of the top bracket, mark up there, level line straight up, and then we can start drilling our brackets on. It is a plasterboard wall, this one, a stud wall. So what we're going to use, the Fisher fixings. I think these are called the Duo blades. I got given these at Installer Show just to try out. So I thought I'd give them a try, and they went in really well, held really well. Seemed to be a lot better quality than your standard, what I like to call pigtail fixings. So yeah, give them a try out. It's Fisher Duo blades. So we'll put the radiator brackets on. So with the radiator all on the wall, now we're going to start piping it up and getting the new valves on in place. Just drop the pressure out of the valves into the tub. Look like there was a bit of sludge in the pipe work, so we'll just got to be careful. I'm going to recommend to the customer to give it a bit of a clean out of the system. We're going to take the old olives off. Unfortunately, I seem to have misplaced my olive cutters, so I've had to use a junior hacksaw here. It's one of my pet peeves, and I used to hate doing this as an apprentice. But just use a junior hacksaw, cut the olive, then get a little flat screwdriver just to split it, and the nut will pull off, and then get your new valve on in place. Look, there's a bit of movement in the wall. With it being a stud wall, I think there's a bit of some plastic inside the wall. It's not end of the world. So with that all tightened, now we're going to take it back off and put some paste on. Always paste your olives, as you know me too well. I love to paste my olives, and then get some inhibitor in before we fill back up. Sometimes I like to fill up first and then drain back down just to make sure I've got no leaks, but I got a bit fed up of doing that. I didn't really have time to do that on this job, so I just put the inhibitor in, and happy days, it was nice and tight. So we tested it out, it was all heating up nicely. So moving over to our basin tap. The customer doesn't like the waterfall feature on this, and I don't either, because it's good in concept, but in practicality you get drenched and it just splatters at you all the time. So we'll get the old one taken out. Luckily it's on flexes and isolators at the back, so we'll just isolate it with a flat screwdriver. However, at the other side there just wasn't enough room, so we had to use our plumb chum. I finally got round to ordering a new plumb chum after losing my old one. It's a multi-tool basically for plumbers, and you can use it for, it's got a flat blade at one end, so you can use it to turn off isolation valves in certain areas. It's got a gas meter box, 10mm nuts on it to do 10mm nuts. You can do your radiator bleed vents with it. The list goes on, but the most important one, it has got a bottle opener on there. So yeah, what else would you want it for as a plumber? You need to open that bottle on a Friday. So once you've got your tap flexes off, we need to take the back nut off at the back of the tap. And what I'm going to use for this is my Nerad Tapex kit. It's a must-have for plumbers, jobbing plumbers, in my opinion, getting to hard to reach areas. This was not too bad, but when we do the kitchen tap, you can see it's very tight up there, so it comes into its element there. So we'll get the old tap out of place. I always save my nuts off there, because you never know when you might drop one down the back of a unit or lose one next time, so it's always worth saving some just for the emergency times when you do drop something down the back of a hole. So the old tap out now, get the new one made up and into place, ready to go. But what you need to make sure is when you are putting your flexes in, that the O-ring hasn't come off. This happens all the time, so just don't rush, take your time and just double check, because last thing you want to do is pipe it all up and realise your O-ring on your flexi is not on there when you put it on and you turn the water back on, it absolutely floods out. So yeah, just don't rush, take your time. So they just screw into the bottom of the tap, and then your threaded bars go up onto the bottom of the tap as well. Some come with 2 bars, some come with 1 bar. This one come with 2 bars. I prefer the ones that come with 1 bar, because you can feed the tap in from above with the nut and everything on already. But first, before we do that, we'll give it a clean down. We'll use a customer's hand wash to give it a clean down, and then just use a Stanley knife just to get rid of them harder bits there that are just stuck on there, that big bits of grime. So give that a clean down best we can, and then the new tap can just slot into place like so. So with that in place now, we need to get our nuts and our back plate onto the back of the tap. Just remembered on this video, I accidentally picked up a hair. I'm hoping that was one of mine and not one of the customer's curly ones. So using the Tapex kit again, we're going to get that fitted into place. Really straightforward. Rubber washer, then your metal back plate, and then your 2 nuts, and just give it a tighten up. Don't over tighten it, you don't have to go crazy, just make sure the tap isn't moving above. The last thing you want to do is over tighten it and crack the basin. It's going to end up costing you a lot more money than it should do. Probably won't have anything left from the job if it did so. So with that in place, then we can just get our flexes connected back up to our isolation valves and get it tested out. So you might notice here there's a lot of water hammer. So on this property, no matter if it's the toilet, the basin, the bath, even filling the boiler up, we get water hammer. So I need to fit a shock arrestor. We're going to do that underneath the sink in the kitchen. So here's the kitchen tap. I think this is the offending item that is causing the water hammer. We're going to put a new tap in there anyway, and also fit a shock arrestor just to cover ourselves, just to make sure that we do get rid of it and it's not this water hammer, the loose pipe work. This should sort it out. We fit with a compression tee with a female branch, but back of there there's not much room, so we're going to get the two traps taken out and just see exactly what space we've got. There's a lot of plastic at back of there, so yeah, we'll make it as accessible as possible. So always remember, this is one mainly for apprentices. When taking traps out or waste pipes from under a kitchen sink, do not, whatever you do, pour it down the kitchen sink, because it will flood your unit. Put it into your bucket underneath. We've all done it, we all make mistakes, it's how we learn. So you can see here there's not much room, there's a lot of plastic going on. We've got an outside tap, we've got a washing machine tap to put back in. So we'll get this other trap out and see exactly what space we've got. Like I say, there's a lot of plastic there. I haven't quoted to repipe it all, and so what we're going to do is just make good of what we've got. So we'll get the old tap out, and with it not being on isolation valves, we have to put some ISOs on there as well. It's a bit of a pain. I thought, well, I'd not looked under the sink when I quoted the job, so I thought it was just a straight swap. Unfortunately not. So using Tapex kit and the different features they have on there, I can get in there nice and easily to undo the tap. So with the old tap out of place with the copper tails, we can get it all cleaned down again and get the new tap into place using the little tap trick. If you remember this from a few years ago, where we put the bolt and plate on already and feed from above, it makes it a lot easier, and it's a lot less cursed words said when we're dropping the nuts and plates from underneath. So with that in place, we get it all tightened up again, making sure it's nice and tight and not spinning round. So what I'm going to do is start with the hot pipe. It's nice and easy. I can just cut that back, isolation valve straight onto there. That's one pipe done, ready to go, leaving the speed fit elbow in place. At the end of the day, I'm not repiping it all. This is a bit of proper plumbing, real world plumbing. It is what it is. I don't care what you think, whether I should be using plastic or not, or repiping it all. If you've got any hate, just leave it in the comments below, because it's much appreciated. So on the cold side, what we're going to do is, it was very tight on here, there wasn't much room at all. So we'll get it all stripped out and just have a look at it, step back before we start cutting pipes and making mistakes. So what I ended up doing was taking the tee off the outside tap and putting turning it round basically, and putting the washing machine tap on the front of it, going straight out, and then we're going to branch up to another tee, which then goes to which will put the expansion vessel in between, and then an ISO above that for the tap to fit onto. So while I time lapse this little section, I'll let you know how much I charged for this job. So I've supplied the towel rail, the valves, the inhibitor, also the basin taps and the kitchen taps and the shock arrestor and any fittings that was used. I've charged £620 for this job. What do you think of that price? Would you have charged something similar, or a lot less, or a lot more? Let us know in the comments below what you would have charged. So lastly, we'll just drop the isolation valve into the top of the T and get the flexi connected up to that. Look, it's not the neatest, it's not neat at all, to be honest, but we're just making good of a bad situation. The customer's happy and it's nice and tight. It's working basically. So don't worry too much. Try not let it bother you too much. At the end of the day, it's a bit of a proper plumbing, real world plumbing, whatever you want to call it. So we'll get the traps put back on. I like to put the traps on first because I don't want to turn the water on and realise I've got a faulty tap and I can't turn the tap off. So get the traps back on, and also don't forget to put your washing machine attachment back on, because how many times have you done that before and not had that on? Turn your tap on, it ends up flooding out of the washing machine attachment. So once that's all in, give it dried off, because you don't want any stagnant water sitting around, making sure, because you might get confused that you might have a leak and you actually haven't, it's just a bit of stagnant water. So taps it off, turn the water back on, and make sure you check your packing gland as well. Everything seems nice and tight, water's running through, no more banging on the kitchen tap. So we'll check both, bowl and a half, get them filled up and tested. And also we'll run upstairs and make sure the basin tap is no longer banging as well, which it isn't. Whether you run it slow or fast, there's no more banging. Also make sure you pull the water through at every single tap, just to be sure, and also to flush it through, because as you can see here, the water starts to turn a yellowy browny colour. All that is the metals from the new taps, and also us disturbing the system. So you can just pull that through. I recommend not drinking it, you don't have to know what's in that water, but once it's cleared through, you should be okay. So check the bath tap as well. I left the basin tap, so I'm glad I come back up and double check that, because the customer wouldn't be happy that I left the basin tap in the bath. Bath tap's no longer banging, and we'll also test the toilet as well. Give that a flush, no longer banging on when I flush the toilet. Radiator's still nice and warm, so job's a good one. Another happy customer.